Welcome to Vivid Talk Live. I'm your host, Gwen Witherspoon, and I am the Chief Branding Officer I am a brand strategist and the Chief Principal of Adam Redden Atlanta Branding Agency. I'm going to get that right today. I am Gwen Witherspoon. Vivid Talk Live is all about your personal and professional development. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. I love saying that every week. I am here to help you learn a fresh way of thinking and doing for all you were designed to build. Now, you can watch the Vivid Talk Live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on your favorite social networks or on my website at gwenwitherspoon.com. And that's where you will also find the replays. And you are made in the image of your creator, in the image of God, with the power to create and cultivate your environment. I'm continuing my series, Find Your Purpose in the Dignity and Divinity of Work. And last week we started with 5 keys to finding your purpose. Tonight, I'm going to share 8 questions you can ask yourself to determine the kind of work that you are divinely built for. So please introduce yourself in the comments. Your questions are welcome. Say hi to Ron. He will be helping me monitor the chat. And thank you so much for joining. Please share the link to invite your friends. Tell them about the replays, and we will get into it right after this. Now, as always, I want to invite you to follow me on social media. Follow at Gwen Fuchsias, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. I'm going to get it right tonight, okay? And I want to make sure you know where to find all the information about me. You can visit gwenwitherspoon.com. You can see my blog. You can watch live, and you can see last week's episode. And if you click on that button just right there at the bottom, watch more replays, you can see all the replays and then of course I mentioned the latest blog post. So this week I'm circling back and kind of doing a blog version of developing your personal brand map, that series. And I think that you'll find some real helpful information there. So tonight, let me get back over here. Here we go. I think it's here we go. Why are you not? It's not cooperating. Just a second. Having my little technical difficulties. I will get back. I promise. Here we go. Click there. Click here. Here we go. There we go. That does it. Okay. So tonight, I want to circle back over last week's 5 keys. So there are 5 keys that I've identified to finding your purpose. And one is, I didn't get a chance to summarize them last week. One is vision. The second is communication. The third is study. The fourth is talent. And the fifth is discipline. And very quickly, so you have to have a revelation of your future, of the positive future that you imagine. So that's what vision is, basically at its core. It's you designing your future. Okay, so you have to have a vision of where you want to go. Second is communication. We've all been given at least one gift, right? One piece of God that we can use to build on in the earth. And we call that your gift, your talent, that basic core, that core motivation, I like to call it. And so if we know that we've all been given at least one, communication is about just taking what you have and sharing that with the world, communicating who you are, what you have to offer. And then the third piece is about study. One of my favorite Bible verses is Galatians 6, 4 and 5 from the Message translation. Make a careful exploration of who you are in the work you've been given and sink yourself into that. That's the part. Sink yourself into that. If you got to sink yourself into who you are, the study of who you are. In this week's blog post, the subtitle is Earning a PhD in You. I want to encourage you to enroll in your PhD program where you are engaging in a deep study of who you are, not just to be self-absorbed. I mean, but it's the smartest thing you can possibly do is to study yourself, your actions, your behavior, your desires, who you are, your experiences, and learning lessons as you go and grow through your life, as you are on this journey. Right. And because if you don't know who you are, no one else can tell you. So you have to do the work. I believe that's ultimately the life work of all of us. But we're not just supposed to study ourselves and know ourselves. We have to know ourselves so that we can fulfill our purpose in the earth. And you won't know what your purpose is unless you put some time into it, some work, some effort, some energy. It may just be, it's going to come out of the actions that you take, the behaviors that you engage in on a regular basis. Those are going to be the signs, the signals, your experiences, the situations you come across, the problems that you encounter, all of those things. But you got to study. How do I function? Like, I'm so grateful to be at the age I am now, because now I can really look back I'm afraid to say hindsight is 2020, because 2020 was such a crazy year. I was talking to one of my friends. She said, I don't want to say 2020 vision ever again, right? But literally, we can look back over our lives. I'm in the position where I can look back over my life, and I can see where I can see patterns, right? Because I've got enough skin in the game where I've done enough. I've been, enough places. Engaged in so many different types of things. I've explored my possibilities, and I haven't finished, but I've done enough now that I can look back over and go and make some decisions and see some patterns and make some changes based on what I've seen and what I've learned. And I'm at a distinct advantage because of that. Also, because I've learned to learn more about myself, I've learned how to give other people more grace. I've learned how to value other people's perspectives because I see in my own greatness, I see my frailty, I see my errors, I see, my need. And so the more I see that about myself and recognize it and still value myself, I learn how to give that same consideration to other people, right? So study. 4 is talent. We all have talents. We all do. We all have talents, natural aptitude. It could be artistic, athletic, musical. You could be handy, crafty. You could be your talent just may be intelligence. There's just all of us have at least one talent, and then we also have the potential to develop more. You can take what you have, who you are, what you know, and you can create more. You can develop more. That's what's so beautiful about this life and this existence that we're in. And then the 5th is discipline. You have to, once you enroll in your PhD, your PhD in Me program, once you enroll in that, you have to exercise discipline to finish it. You have to exercise discipline to get the work done. You have to be able to eliminate distractions or to work through them or to come back from setbacks because there are going to be many, right? But you have to develop the discipline. I was listening to someone the other day talking about how to build a YouTube channel. And the bottom line, they said, you got to create some rules. And the rule has to be that you're going to post on a certain day and that's a rule and that you do that no matter what. You don't deviate from that and you set the rule, right? So discipline is you setting the rules that you're going to live by and you hold yourself accountable to them. You're not waiting for somebody else to come around and tell you what to do. I was talking to someone today and she said when she found out that I and my husband are both completely self-employed, she was like, "Oh, that's great." And I said, "Yeah, but it is a great responsibility as well because we don't have a boss telling us that if we don't do ABC, that we won't get a check, or that's telling us step by step by step exactly what it is we're supposed to be doing and that we're required to do. We are 100% responsible for all of our actions and for all of our results. If we don't act, we don't get a result, right? But you have to exercise discipline. And so those 5 things: vision, communication, study, talent, and discipline. Those are the keys, 5 keys that I believe are essential to finding your purpose. So isn't that a strange list, right? Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it would be more ethereal and all that, but I think those 5 things really kind of encompass all of it. You have to do them all, and they will lead you to an answer around what your purpose is. And your purpose can change because I believe at your core there's some foundational, fundamental things about you that really are enduring, that won't ever change. But I think that purpose can be defined. Maybe that's it. Maybe purpose is defined differently or can be defined differently at different stages of your life and your growth and your development. But so tonight, I want to ask you 8 questions. And I think asking these 8 questions are also going to help you to kind of focus in more around what it is what your purpose is. And more than anything, these 8 questions, I want them to help you answer kind of or focus in or hone in more clearly the kind of work that you should be doing, the kind of work that you are divinely destined and built to do. I think sometimes it's so easy to fall into a cycle of activity because of circumstances or because of an external need, right? But or even an internal need. Sometimes we want to feel valued. So you could it easily fall into doing work that in your mind naturally makes you think, if I do ABC, if I reach this level, I'm going to be respected and valued and appreciated, right? I'm going to be affluent and respectable and all these things. But that need to experience that success, and by those definitions, may be coming from an emptiness where you don't really understand fully who you really are, because your true fulfillment may come from a different type of work or a different approach. So I want to help you kind of do that beginning, like exploratory work around that, and that's going to be contingent upon your answers to these 8 questions. And so the first question is motivation, because I think there are 8 dimensions that you need to consider when you're thinking about purpose, and one of them can be answered in the first question: what motivates you? What motivates you? And I told you I love personality assessments. And so one of my favorite books that I got from my just my biblical spiritual training is Discover Your God-Given Gifts by Don and Katie Fortune. And it is a book that talks about 3 different categories of gifts that are mentioned in the Bible. And now, so whether you read the Bible, believe the Bible or not, I think it's just that the book itself is a really great foundational tool to help you discover your gifts. Okay. And I really believe intrinsically what you were born with, what you were granted, there are gifts and abilities that you have. And I think those gifts can be so personal and so close to you that it's easy for you either not to recognize them or not to value them, because you can look outside of yourself at someone else doing and being a different way that you admire, because maybe that's not your strength. And it's easy then to value what you see in someone else because you can't recognize your own greatness and your own strengths, right? So in one of those categories of gifts, some people call personality gifts, some people call motivational gifts. I like to call them motivational gifts because I think they really speak to your core motivations. I mentioned that last week as well. So what is your core motivation? What is the strong urge toward a particular way of life? And I think another way I said it was, what's your instinctive response to pressure? So and I'll give you the best example I know, because the closest thing to me is my own, right? What I know about myself. So there are 7 gifts that are mentioned as motivational gifts in the Bible. And one is prophecy, which I'm going to call it insight, right? So it's not too spiritual and of a word, but I'd say insight, service, teaching, encouragement, giving, leadership, and mercy. And these are core motivations. And I believe that we all have dimensions of each one. So you can say, oh, all of those things describe me. And I think that can be said of all of us. It's true that we all have pieces of these things. However, there's one that you lean towards stronger and heavier than any other. And then I think it's also a great idea to identify what your top 3 are, so that you focus your attention on developing those things. But for me, and another way to think about the leadership gift is also administration, right? So it's spoken of that way in the book. And so I know for a fact, like every time I take the test or any other kinds of tests similar, I test as 100 out of 100 on administration. It's just how I am. And so another way to think about that is leadership. So if your instinctive response to pressure is leadership, doesn't mean that you have to be out front, because I don't always have to be. But what I will do is when I see a hole, when I see a problem, I will step up to solve it. I can't help myself. I instinctively start seeing a strategy for how to solve that problem, and I'm intensely resourceful. So if I find a tool, if I know a way forward, I'm gonna step in. I mean, I can't help myself. So, but and there are negative things when you say instinctive response to pressure. When I ask you that, there are negative things that are associated with your gift. So there's positive and a negative side to it. So if you have a hard time identifying what your gift is per se, or what your motivation is, you can look to your weakness. What makes you angry? What kind of problems do you have with other people, right? So what is your core motivation? I believe answering that question fully is the foundation of your purpose, because it's going to help you understand how you naturally and instinctively show up in the world, and what gets you moving, what makes you want to take action, right? I looked up the word motivation. It means the reason for acting or behaving in a particular way. What causes you to act? Being able to solve a problem causes me to act. I can't help myself. So I'm going to lead, I'm going to organize, I'm going to create structure, strategy. That is just how I live and breathe. I can't help myself. If I need to make a grocery list, I got to create a plan for how I'm going to make that list. It's just who I am, right? And I can try to get away from that. I can try to not make lists. I can try to not create charts. I can do it, but it'll be just like not breathing, because it's so common, so normal, so instinctive for me to do. And so you have something like that for yourself as well. Yours might be insight. And, I'm surrounded by all these really insightful, spiritually insightful, naturally insightful, intelligently insightful people. And if you are an insightful person, you can sum people up very quickly. You get kind of have a sixth sense about things, about situations. You you have this uncanny way of seeing the future, telling the future. You are you are just a very perceptive person. And that is a gift. That is a core motivation. And when you know that about yourself, then you can you can just put yourself in the best situation so that you can operate as effectively as possible. Yes. Oh, Christina, thank you, honey. I love teaching. So again, so we'll get to that too. So if your core motivation is teaching, as that is also one of mine, if your core motivation is teaching, then you can't help but teach people. I was thinking about Vivid Talk Live, and I said, okay, I got to figure out a way. I'm going to edit these things down, so they can be shorter and easier to eat, to consume, right? And I thought, everybody can't sit down for 45 and 50 minutes and listen to me talk, but I can't help myself. I want to help you, and I feel like this is one of those things that I have to do because it's something that I was born to do. And if I don't, I feel like I'm really just stepping outside of my purpose. I'm neglecting the gift of God, if I don't. So you have to identify those things in you that's the same way. So I'm not going to go through all of the motivations, but they're, again, insight, service, teaching, encouragement, giving, leading, mercy. Now, okay. I can't leave that. I have to finish go a little further. So I mentioned that we all have all seven. And so if I used to Typically what I do when I take this test is I score about 32% on mercy. And I have a friend who years ago, it's just this big joke between me and her. She's just like, Gwen, that's a failing grade. Like if you got a 32% on a test, you literally would flunk out. And so the joke is that I am like the least merciful person that she knows. And, my mom's not merciful either. So I get it honest. But what I realize is I am merciful, but I don't show mercy the same way that a person who has a gift, a motivation of mercy, I don't show my mercy the same way. Like I care about oh, thank you. She said I communicate everything so easily and break down. Thank you. I really appreciate that because I really want to help. I really want to make a difference. So that means a lot. But I was saying that I am merciful. I just don't show it the same way. So a person who has a motivation and a gift of mercy, they are the kind of person where you can cry on their shoulder. They will be there with you. They typically, from a personality standpoint, they tend to be kind of indecisive because they can go in any direction. They're so empathic and so emotional that they can kind of go in any direction. But when it comes to people and situations and animals, I mean, they just have this deep heart for helping. And I have the same heart. However, it manifests in a different way. My compassion is if you come to me with a problem, I'm going to try to help you figure out a solution. So if you don't want a solution, you shouldn't come to me. If you just want to cry, I'm not the one because you won't feel loved and supported because that's just not how I function. Now, does that let me off the hook? Does that give me an excuse to be brazen or to be brash or to be insensitive? No, but you have to understand if you are dealing with somebody in your life, let's say you are a merciful person, you have the gift of mercy, and you come to somebody who is insightful, they will cut you, right? They'll cut you with their words because they're so blunt and typically tend to be kind of black and white. So if you come to them expecting them to treat you a certain way, to let you cry and be with you, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be hurt. Sometimes you'll be crushed to your soul because they just don't function that way. But does that mean that they're not compassionate, that they don't care? No, it just means that they're going to show that in a different way. Okay. If you are a giver, people who have a motivation, a strong gift of giving, these are people who are like kind of money magnets. It doesn't mean that money comes super, super easy, but at the same time, they have a tendency to be really good with money and finances. They have a tendency to spoil their children and spoil people that they love. They have a tendency to be the ones that they don't like to be asked for money, but they want to give freely. They will give freely. And these are people, it doesn't mean that no one else is supposed to give, but it just means the way you can look at the way you give and kind of see where you fall, right? Okay, so that first question, what motivates me? So what motivates you? If I see a problem, I'm motivated to lead. If you see somebody hurting, you might be motivated to show compassion. If you see a wrong being committed, you may be motivated. You may insightfully perceive what is going on, and you might be able to prescribe a solution in the middle of that problem. If you are called, if you have a gift of service, you may instinctively see when somebody needs help and support, and you jump to go provide it. If I'm sitting in a room with you and you're shivering and you're like doing like this, I may never notice because I'm focused on so many other things. But a person who is motivated to serve, they are looking for a sweater. They are, oh my gosh, can I adjust the temperature? That's just who they are. And that is a gift. That's a really core motivation. Okay. Doesn't mean that they can't be leaders. It just means that when they are leaders, they're going to lead a different way. It's going to manifest in a different way. And I think if you understand these things about yourself, just what's that one core motivation that drives you, that makes you get up and act and do what you do, that's the foundation again of finding your purpose. Okay. The second question is, what do I want? Well, the second question is around kind of helping you figure out what your goal is, defining your goal. And that could be, so the question could be, what do I want to produce? What do I want to create? What do I want to build? What do I want? Like that by itself could be, the question. But what you are trying to determine there is, what is the end result you're trying to get to? That could be a business you want to create, a something new you want to learn. It can be a specific stage of growth you want to reach, a specific goal. I want to lose weight. I want to do, but you got to decide, what is it? Because if I'm a leader, I have to decide what it is what problem I'm trying to solve, and what it is I'm actually trying to accomplish. Are you trying to build something? Are you trying to reach a new level? Are you trying to just reach a new achievement? Are you trying to get a change, or you want to move? Like, you've got to decide. And that probably one of the hardest things to do. It might be harder than figuring out your motivation, is really settling on something, especially somebody like me. I'm a creative. I love doing, I got ideas on top of ideas, and my ideas get ideas. So, and I can go in any direction. I was just talking to my daughter, my husband's daughter last night, about the fact that she's so creative. That's her problem, is that she has so many options. And I could say that because I'm the same way. You have more options than you can take, than you can do anything with. And so it's hard. Either you don't have any options, or you feel like you don't have options, and so you can't make a decision, or you're influenced by so many different people and see so many different things, can't decide. Or you could just have so many options, and so you can do so much that it's hard. But you got to make a decision. You got to pick something. You have to pick a direction. And I think you can also choose a direction without being afraid that you're going to make a mistake. I think I've spent so many years of my life worried that I was going to make the wrong decision, especially if you love God, you're serving God, you want to be led by the Spirit of God. It's oftentimes so easy to wait for the Holy Spirit to say specifically to you, do A, B, and C, where you do nothing because you haven't just made a decision. And they say you can't steer a parked car. So if you at least start in a direction, you can always course correct. You can always change directions, but making a decision to start in one direction is going to be super important. The next question is, what, I think the question itself, the way I've phrased it here, is a little formal, but so the next step in this process is to determine what stage you are in, what stage of development. And you are either starting, you're growing, or you are ready to scale, like get bigger. You want to grow what you're doing, and then you want to be able to scale it beyond that, like so you can touch more people, reach more territory, and then you can get to a place where you just need to manage, right? And then the other is, while in the management of it all, you want to get to a point where you're thriving. So those are kind of 5 stages of growth and development. And so the third question would be, what period of development of is your business, your organization, your ministry in, or your life? Where are you? And I think you have to answer that question. So, and I would put it in terms of those 5 things. Are you starting, growing, scaling, managing, or thriving? And that's important, because I have been a serial entrepreneur my entire adult life, and I didn't understand until maybe like 3 years ago that there are stages of development. And I don't know why that never occurred to me, or why I never thought of it that way, because, just think about children. There's stages of growth and development. You don't expect an infant to do what a toddler can do. You don't expect a toddler to be able to do what a teenager can do. You don't expect a teenager to do what a young adult can do. So it's, you don't expect a senior citizen to be in the same place. So there are stages of growth and development. And so I think we have to look to what stage we are in. And I am also notorious for having these high goals and high standards. And I remember when I went to college, I'd always wanted to be an artist. I got into my art schools, and among my peers, when we did peer reviews, the critiques among my peers would always put my work in like the top 5 of the class. I, in my estimation, would always put it at the bottom of the 5, and I would discount the fact that I was getting recognized for my ability. And in my mind, I was looking at graduate students and people who were far ahead of me. I was looking at their ability and what they were doing and admiring their work, and then always putting mine, judging my work as less than. And what I was doing was I was negating the fact that I was totally new. I was a startup. I was not at a growth stage. I was not ready to scale and get my work in, multiple publications and distributed around the country. I wasn't in a thriving creative, field already. Like, I was looking to those people at those stages and comparing myself to that, and ignoring the fact that literally I was just walking through the door, had never seen any of the tools before, didn't understand any of the concepts. And what you want to do is you got to determine where you are and be fine with it. It's okay, because we all have to go through all the same stages. There are no shortcuts, and there's no way to skip over it. Okay. So that's the third question. Fourth question is, where do I fit? Now, I think that there are, when you think about positions in a company, those positions, those job titles, those job descriptions, all they do is really tell you, they kind of help define the role you're going to take. And whenever I build a company or an organizational chart, I'll start with just basic levels of kind of hierarchy. Excuse me. And in those hierarchies, you have your C-suite, your executives, you have your directors, you have your managers, you have assistants, like that, the hierarchy. So I want you to think of it in those terms. Like, what is your position just for you, like what you're trying to accomplish? And I like to think, if you're familiar again with biblical gifts and positions, there's what we call the fivefold ministry, right? Apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers. And I love that list, because they're not just for useful in the church. They are useful in general, because if you look at the marketplace and you look at companies and corporations, essentially they're being run by apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, and they just don't call them that, right? So if you flip that and use more corporate language, there you could kind of speak about them in terms of administration, marketing, sales, operations, training. Okay. So ask yourself, where do I fit? So you would, of those 5, whether it's the spiritual terms or the corporate terms, where do you fit? I know I fit in administration and I fit in teaching, right? And training, right? So I have a teaching motivation. That's one of them. One of my top 3 is teaching. And then I have a leadership. My top motivation is leadership. And one of my top 3 is teaching. So I know from a position standpoint, I do better in administrative roles and in training roles. Hence, Vivid Talk Live, right? And so if you know that about yourself, then you know that you need to put yourself in a position where you can develop those muscles, where you can get better at doing those things. If you are, and you may not even, let's say, so if you're an insightful person, then you may fit better in a marketing capacity. Doesn't mean that you have to be a creative person. You don't have to be an artist or photographer or anything, or you might be those things. But marketing is probably a better place for you to be. You may never have even thought of yourself in a marketing capacity, but if you have a motivation that kind of supports the responsibilities in that position, then it would be better for you to invest time and energy in developing that than something else. So we're talking about finding your purpose in the dignity and divinity of work. And I'm asking you these 8 questions so that you can figure out what type of work were you uniquely created, divinely built to do. Okay. So what so where do you fit? What position do you fit in? In marketing terms, we talk about from a business, you have to write a positioning statement. Think about when you get a job in a company, if that's just where do you fit? What's your position in the company? Okay. And then the next question is, what should I do? Right. And that really speaks to the type of work that you should be doing. So once you figure out what your position is, you want to ask yourself, what should I do? And that speaks to specifically the kind of work. And there's 5 things with that as well that go with those other positions: creation, investigation, recruitment, management, and education. Okay. And if you could see the chart, you would see administration and is a creative role. If you're familiar with spiritual terms, an apostle is someone is there. They strengthen churches and strengthen church leaders. They are leaders of leaders. And if you think about it in terms of a corporate office, the headquarters of that corporation, that's where everything really is developed and created. That's where it all originates. That's the foundation of the entire company, right? So creation is the work that's done in that administrative office, or in the C-suite, right? And if you are a prophet, if you have the motivation of insight and the position of a prophetic minister, then marketing really is more is your position, and then your work is more investigative, which go with me there. So marketing is about, you're basically looking out among all the people and all the things that are going on and trying to figure out how to spread your message, how to get it out, it's a very analytical position. It's really analytical work. And so when you think of marketing, you think of a very creative thing. Like I always think of, like creating ads and in doing commercials, producing commercials. But all of those things are based on the analytics that were done first. It's those things are based on the study of people. So if you have a strong gift of perception, you are insightful, and the best you would do well in positions that would require investigation and analysis. Okay. I think that makes sense. Okay. And then if you are a teacher, an encourager, you kind of fall in that. This is funny to me. So I'm looking at so you are that evangelist spiritually, but an evangelist is someone that's going out spreading the message, trying to gather people, right? So that's really a sales function. And if you're there, then the work that you are suited for doing is recruitment. I'm recruiting people either to buy this product, buy into this idea, join this kingdom, right? So that's the work that you should be doing. And then if you have a motivation for mercy, for giving, for leadership, those things, you could also be a pastor, a shepherd, or you could, and the position from a corporate standpoint would be more like operational. keeping everything going and together and all the parts working together. You have you have the ability to kind of walk with people as they grow and develop. Some people at in other positions may not have the patience. If you are more of a recruiter, you can go get the people, but you don't want to take care of the people. You don't want to develop them. You're not training and all of that. You are just going to get them and convince them and selling them, right? Bringing them in. But if you are more on that operational side, you are managing and developing and working with them and growing with them, right? So, or even just growing businesses. Like, I love the operational parts of creating companies and that whole startup business thing. But the work then is really management. So are you a manager? And then the last one is education. If you have a spiritual position as a teacher, or you are a trainer from a corporate sense, you love that, developing training programs, training people, walking them through, helping them learn new things, then the work is education. Okay. So then the next question you want to ask yourself is, what should I do? Okay. I'm sorry. The next question is number 6. How am I to function? So that's different. So the work, and I want to try to draw the distinctions. Okay. So you understand the subtleties of each one of these things. And remember, Galatians 6:4-5 says, make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you've been given, and sink yourself into that. So that's why I want you to ask these 8 questions. I don't want you to just go, oh, what's my gift? Like it's a zodiac sign. I'm an Aries. So, and then you just keep going. I want you to dig in. Okay. So that's why we're asking these types of questions. How am I to function? So if my position is administration, the work that I've been given is creation. I create things. But my role on a team, my role in this project, my role is in achieving this goal that I've created for myself is I am an architect. Okay. I'm an architect. I am pulling together the blueprints. I'm designing it. I'm creating all the dimensions and stages and all that of it. I'm creating. Okay. If my if my position is marketing, my work is investigation, but my role is a surveyor. I'm doing research to determine. If you look at the blog post from this week, talking about being a PhD in it talks about being the construction surveyor. In order for them to create a new project, there's those guys sitting out there, guys and girls sitting out there looking through that thing. I don't know what they're measuring, but they're measuring to create the specifications that they need to actually construct this thing, to build this thing. So if you are in that marketing, if you're more prophetic, if you are more insightful and perceptive, then the role that you need to play is more of a surveyor, right? Where you are pulling together all this information. You're researching. And maybe that's a better word. You're a researcher. And then if your position is sales or evangelism, and then in the corporate sense it's sales, then your work is recruitment, and your role is rainmaker. I need some rainmakers. I love that phrase. So in the business world, we talk a lot about rainmakers. A rainmaker is somebody who brings money, funding, resources into an organization, right? That's a rainmaker. And a rainmaker is a service that somebody can offer to help you to generate wealth and generate money and business for yourself. They create strategic partnerships. When everything is dry, and have you ever noticed too, in marketing, all these, if you're around marketers at all or any of this, you will hear over and over again all these terms that are related to marketing that have to do with water, drip marketing, streams of income. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there's a bunch of them. Let me look. I got my notes right here. This page here. When I saw this, a pipeline, like a sales pipeline, We always talk about you want to get people lined up as potential leads. That's a pipeline. And what does a pipe do? A pipe holds, like water goes through a pipe. So if you don't have a pipeline, you can't generate revenue, right? It talks about a drip campaign, streams of income. And there's a marketing concept called blue ocean strategy, and blue ocean strategy is about creating a market for yourself out in the ocean, the blue ocean that nobody else has figured out. But there's more like that, and I thought that was just so fascinating. But you need a rainmaker to get all that water flowing, right? And so you might be a rainmaker. You might be somebody that really enjoys making deals. You may be someone that really enjoys spreading an idea, gathering people, recruiting people, bringing people together. That might be you. And that is the role that you should play. And you can do that in so many different ways in different things that you're doing. The other is operations. So if your position is pastor or operations, your work is management, and your role is sustainer. Because someone that is there, a shepherd, you think about, the Bible talks about, speaks of pastors as shepherds. A shepherd is there to tend to the sheep, to take care of them. They're basically sustaining. And, when I think of that, I think of this, it just feels very... it's long game work, right? It's just steady, consistent, just peaceful, right? When I think of that role, a sustainer is somebody that makes everything that, I don't know, just keeps something existing, right? You uphold it, by just your very being in the work that you show up to do. And then the last one is, if your spiritual gift or spiritual calling or office or position is teacher, then your corporate position is training, and the work that you're doing is education, and the role that you are playing is, I have analyst. I don't know why I said that. I don't know if analyst is the best word, but you're getting the idea, okay? And so you have to ask yourself, how am I to function? I'm supposed to function as an architect. I'm supposed to function as a researcher. I'm supposed to function as a rainmaker. I'm supposed to function as a sustainer. I'm functioning as an analyst. I guess if I'm a trainer, a teacher, I'm analyzing information and ideas so that I can, disseminate that and teach people how to use it. So I think that does kind of fit. Again, see, there I was. I'm an analyst. And then the next one is, the seventh question is, what is my inherent tendency? And I use that phrase, inherent tendency, because I want to talk about the grace. So you have a core motivation that you have been granted, right? And once you discover that core motivation, you understand what it is that makes you move, what is the underlying reason for you to take any action. Basically, it's that core motivation. And then you have to have a goal that you're using that motivation on. There's something around that goal that causes you to take action. And then when you take action, you have to understand what stage of development you are in, so that you can judge yourself accurately, right? That you don't have you don't put an expectation on yourself that is beyond the stage that you are in, okay? And there's no shame in whatever stage you are in, okay? And it doesn't have to do with your age, nothing. It's just, where are you really? And you have to assess that. And then once you've assessed what stage you're in, what your motivation is, and what your goal is, then you want to understand, what's my position, okay? Because we all kind of have a title, right? What's the title that you have right now? What's your office? And then what kind of work are you supposed to be doing in that office? What kind of work does that office call for? Or you may not even be in that position, but that may be where you want to go. They talk about dressing for the position you want to be in. you want to start doing the work that you want to do, for the next promotion before you actually get the promotion. And then, so what kind of work are you called to do? And or what kind of work does that position require? And then the other piece is, then what role are you playing when you are in that position doing that work, right? I think that's a really important distinction. And then what grace comes with that, right? So you have a motivation, but what grace comes with it? And that's where I think you have to ask yourself, what's my inherent tendency? And so my inherent tendency is to build, because I'm an administrator. Like I believe I have this calling. I think I have an office of administration. I think I stand in that office. And so the grace that goes with that office is the ability to build. The grace that goes with the office of the prophetic, or to market, of a marketer, is insight. So maybe I used insight to kind of describe. So maybe it's perception instead of mixing up the words, but the grace is insight. Then, if I am an evangelist, or I'm in the office of selling, my position is selling, I have a grace to gather. Because have you ever seen somebody who really is good at selling? My sister accused me of that. I mean, accused. But she told me I could sell anything because I had convinced her of something. And I was like, no, I said, I'm not selling you. I'm merely solving this problem for you. So it might feel like I'm selling, but I'm walking you through all the steps you need to do and showing you why what I'm suggesting makes sense. So she felt like it was selling. But anyway, there are people who are instinctively able to sell anything, who literally can gather people to those ideas and get them to buy in. Now on Instagram, we call them influencers. But so the grace is to gather. If you are a pastor, or you're in the office or position of operations, you have a grace to guide. Right? You have a grace to guide. If people are always coming to you asking for your advice, you have a grace to guide. And then if you are a teacher spiritually, and you are in the office of a trainer, then you have a grace for instruction. And so you start seeing how all of these things add up. And when you can answer these questions for yourself, it starts kind of painting a picture, right? Helping you really see yourself more fully. And that starts leading to a better understanding of what your purpose is. But you've got to work so that you can confirm that, so you can discover it, so that you can explore. And as you start answering the questions while you are working, then that's going to help you find your purpose. Okay. And then the last question, how am I doing? Oh my gosh, I'm way verbose today. So, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and finish it. So that's why I'm going long. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So the last question is, what am I ultimately interested in? What are you ultimately interested in? So what's your focus? But now that focus comes again, you can get some insight from that core motivation. So, and I got 5 of those as well. Is my focus on structure? I care structure is everything. So when I start a project, when I start anything, if I'm going to clean up the house, I'm creating a structure. I can't help myself. So is it perfecting? Do you want to help people become better? And some people with black and white kind of personalities, like issues are very important to them. Their focus could be on perfecting, or bringing about perfection even. And then is your focus on promotion? If you are an evangelist or a salesperson, you are promoting a product, promoting an idea, promoting a concept. And so your focus is on that. I got to promote this thing. If you are in operations or management, you're a sustainer or a guide, your focus would be on oversight. I want to make sure that all of these things work together well and are flowing smoothly, right? And then if you are a teacher or a trainer, then your focus would be on publishing. So I literally, when I go through this chart that I've created, I can circle all these things, starting with, based on that core motivation, on that first thing. Once I know that core motivation, I can go through and circle, and it tells a story about myself and helps me get clear about what my purpose is, how I'm supposed to function, what I'm supposed to be doing, and what kind of work is going to feed me, right? And doesn't mean that it's easy to do, doesn't mean that it's easy to actually solve all the, answer all those questions and put them all together. But what it does mean is that when you take the time to make this investigation, then you come up with some answers. It's going to give you some more clarity for action. And then as you start doing more of that kind of work, you're going to find yourself living your life at play, which is where I want to get you to. So listen, I want to thank you so much for your attention. At some point, I'm going to break all these long teachings down into some smaller bites. But for now, I just got to get them out. So I thank you for your attention. Please share with your friends. Let them know about Vivid Talk Live. Send them to gwenwitherspoon.com. They can watch all the replays, watch live there. And then make sure you follow Gwen Fuchsius on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Gwen Witherspoon Coach on YouTube. So I'll see you next Wednesday. I was trying to change the day. Next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's all. Thank you. I think that's it. Where's my credits? There we go.